Welcome back to Overtime Arcade. I'm Charlie and we've got an empty spot in the lineup down here in the basement. That's because this is part 12 of the Joust Restoration series. And guys, this is it, the grand finale. Now, this has been quite the project. As you know, we've been working on restoring this original Joust Arcade machine for months. And finally, we've arrived at the finish line. So in this video, we're going to wrap up a bunch of remaining loose ends. We're going to repaint the coin doors, the front kick plate of the cabinet, and a bunch of hardware. We're going to rebuild the fluorescent light setup for the Marquee light. We're going to install a reproduction speaker grille to replace the original one that was all busted up. We're going to wire up some light bulb sockets to illuminate the start buttons on the control panel, and much, much more. Then we're gonna put the whole thing back together, hope that it still works, and then bring it down here into the basement, into its permanent home in the arcade lineup. So if that sounds good, why don't we head out to the garage and get started? Let's go!
Overtime!
Okay, before I paint the coin doors, I want to take everything apart on the coin door just so I don't risk getting paint on any of the electronics here. So I've got a nut driver just taking things off. And there's three on this coin door for Williams, are these three nuts at the top. If I remember correctly, taking these off should allow us to remove it sort of all at once, which is great. Okay, hopefully my head wasn't in the way. And yeah, we can just lift that whole assembly off. Look at how easy that is. Put that over here. And then the coin reject buttons come right out. Probably clean those at some point. And I need to get a flathead screwdriver bit to remove the coin chutes and the coin return sort of flap things. So let me do this. Okay, and when you take the coin return flaps off, just be careful because they separate easily. And should we clean that? I don't know. We'll take a look. So let me grab a little cup or something. Just to put all these little pieces in so we don't lose them. Just little screws and bolts. Anyway, that's good. Should I take the door off? Yeah, I might as well, just because I don't want to risk. I don't want to risk painting the thing closed. All right, here's our front of our coin door frame, and we've got our coin vault door. But this thing, I don't know if you can see it in the camera. It's got a bit of a bend in it. So I want to bring it over here and kind of pound it out. Let me show you how I'm going to do that. Move the tripod. And what I'm going to do is use a rubber mallet and a wood block. And I'll do that to kind of avoid like damaging the wood. So this is the part down here that I want to sort of flatten out. I've got this piece of scrap wood that I've used for a bunch of stuff. Use a little bit more. Okay, I think I got it. I smashed up some of my scrap wood, but let's see. That's a sure heck of a lot straighter than it was before. Okay, next thing I want to do is get this cleaned up. I don't see much rust here on the frame. There's a little bit, sorry, I'm out of breath. There's a little bit on the front of the coin door. I got these old leftover sort of scraps of 220 grit sandpaper from an old palm sander that I don't have anymore, and I'm just kind of making sure none of this rust is loose. I don't want to take off much of the finish because it's got this original kind of what do you call it, sort of hammered finish that I don't really want to go through the trouble of recreating. That's sort of fine. Lower coin door doesn't have much either, and I'm not really trying to go crazy and take rust off. I'm just, see, like this part right here, I want to make sure, there we go, there's nothing super super loose there. And I think with the Rust-Oleum, technically you can paint over the rust, but yeah, it's not an awesome idea. We get some paper towels and simple green. And we'll just clean this up a little bit. I want to be careful to not get this wet, or the other sticker here. I don't think I'm going to paint the back of the upper coin door. I kind of will paint the back of the lower coin door just because, you know, it's a bit tore up. So we can just come like this, give this a quick wipe down, and I want it to mask off this sticker. So to do that, I've got a piece of, like, this is from a FedEx envelope, so it's a little, it's not just paper, it's a little cardboard with I don't know if that's like a wax coating or something like that, just so that it doesn't just, you know, soak the what do you call it? Paint, that's the word I'm looking for. Let's come over here back onto this cardboard, which I'm going to use to protect my floor from being painted. So we're going to do the underside first, just because if things end up sticking, right, like if the paint sticks, I want it to stick on the back side. I don't want it to stick on the front. So get this set up here. And like I said, we're not going to paint the back of the upper coin door just because, frankly, I don't think it needs it. And because it's, you know, mostly protected by the mechanisms. So this is the paint that I'm going to use. Might be familiar to some of you. Rust-Oleum Universal Satin Paint and Primer in 1 in black. This I first learned about from John, from Joust Arcade years ago. You know, he converted to this at some point and really liked it. And I've had great success with this thing. I'm sorry if you hear my microphone shaking because I'm shaking this can vigorously. It says, let's see, dries to touch in 30 minutes, to handle in 2 hours, fully dry in 24, apply a second coat within 1 hour or after 48 hours. Apply 2 or more light coats a few minutes apart. For best results, apply multiple light coats versus 1 heavy coat. So I think what we're going to do with both this and over here is the cabinet. Let's come down a little bit more. Is we'll do, like it said, 2 light coats just a couple minutes apart. And then we'll let it dry for about half an hour. And I'll do 2 more light coats. And we should be good. And yes, I'm painting indoors. It's pitch black out. I don't want to set up the lights and everything. And again, I'm not doing a ton of painting. All right, we're going to do 2 light coats, just a couple of minutes apart. come in this way just to make sure. All right. That's actually not bad. A little touch right here. All right. So we'll give that a second or two. I'll hit it again with a light coat in a second. In the meantime, we'll come over here and we'll take a look at the cabinet itself. Rather than doing the newspapers again, oh, and that paint smells. I got some plastic sheeting just to make it a lot easier. So, and I I ordered some more of the good painter's tape that I like, the Scotch Blue. I think it's 2080 EL. But Amazon sent me the wrong kind, even though that's what I ordered. So Liam from Rush Robotics was having some good luck with the frog tape. He said it was better than any Scotch Blue he had used, so I got some of that. And this is for the delicate surface. But it's really just taped to the T-molding, the original T-molding. I think I am going to try to use the original T-molding. It's in relatively good shape. And yeah, so I've got everything masked off that I don't want to paint. And I'm going to come down the sides first, just because I did sort of sand up to the edges a little bit. So I want to kind of gently get this inside edge. And over here. Sorry if you're seeing my painting clothes. All right. And now we should be good to paint the actual cabinet. I should probably have a mask on, shouldn't I? Okay, it actually looks pretty good. All right. We'll give that a second. I'm going to quickly put another light coat on the coin doors, and then the cabinet here, and then I'll let it dry for about half an hour. We'll put on another coat, and then I'll come back and we'll see what that looks like. Yeah, I can still see some of the Bondo poking through, but we should be good. This stuff covers up pretty good, so I'll be back in a minute. Okay, it's been about 30 minutes, and I put 2 more light coats of the black spray paint, the Rust-Oleum Universal Satin Paint and Primer in one on the front panel, and it's looking pretty good. And then I just did one more quick light coat on the back of the lower coin door, the coin vault door, and the frame of the coin door, just because you're never going to see this, and these are looking great. So I'm going to let this dry for 24 hours, and then we will do the other side of these, and we'll see if we need to put maybe another light coat or 2 here, just to make sure we're covering up. You know, this is where the Bondo work was done up here and down here. Just want to make sure we've got that nice and covered. So yeah, maybe we'll put a couple more light coats on. And I threw some paper towel here just because I was worried about the paint sort of, you know, hitting the plastic sheet and dripping down. So I threw just a couple pieces of paper towel in there to soak it up, which looks like it's working really well. So yeah, and here's a sneak peek at the sides. You know, through the plastic, it looks great. Can't ever tell that I did the touch-up work down there. And one last thing before we let this dry for 24 hours is I went ahead and cleaned up the coin chute and coin return, just because I am going to blast these a little bit of paint tomorrow when I do the front of the coin door. And I noticed something interesting. So one of these is metal and one of these is plastic. Uh, maybe that explains why, you know, one of these is sort of bent up right there, or the place where it gets mounted on the coin door. I don't know if somebody busted one of these and an operator replaced it back in the day with a plastic one. And you know what's funny, as I went down and checked my Robotron, the coin door on my Robotron, and they're both plastic on the Robotron, or one of them's broken. So yeah, and I got tons of spare parts for coin doors, but they're all these coin chute parts, and none of these sort of frames for the coin return part of the bottom. So I guess we'll be putting a metal and plastic one back on. And yeah, I wanted to also clean the coin reject buttons. And these are actually really, really easy to take apart. Let me show you how to do that with just a quarter. Get on the tripod real quick. So I already did one of them. But basically you take a quarter, and it's got these little notches right here, if it'll focus. And you just kind of come in and give it a little twist. And it starts to separate real easy. Because what does an arcade operator have on hand back in the day? Quarters. Here we go. So you don't have to use a screwdriver and potentially risk damaging the plastic. You just take it apart with a quarter and a little insert here. Put that anywhere. Don't want to lose that. These are like plastic translite type of material, so we'll hold on to that. And then these. Yeah, these are kind of filthy, right? They're all gross and grimy, if you can see that. I'm going to drop them in this cup, which is just like half simple green, half water. And we'll let that soak overnight, and we'll clean that tomorrow, so those will look nice and good. So yeah, let me let this paint dry, and we will continue tomorrow. All right, it's actually 48 hours later, not 24 hours later, because I went back and double checked what the instructions on the rattle can say, and it says right here, it actually says apply a second coat within 1 hour or after 48 hours. So I did those two initial light coats within an hour, you know, within 30 minutes of each other. Now it's 2 days later, and I can go put the hopefully final coats of black paint on the front kick plate. But before I do that, I want to rebuild the Marquee light. If you remember in a previous episode, a previous operator had replaced the original fluorescent Marquee light setup with just a socket for an incandescent bulb, and that certainly won't do. So I'm going to rebuild this to bring it back to the way it was originally, which should actually be pretty straightforward. If you saw a previous quick fix video I did, I thought I had a bad ballast in my Robotron that made the Marquee light go out, so I replaced it. Turned out it was just a starter, so a very easy fix. So I ended up going back eventually and putting that ballast, or the original ballast, into the Robotron. So this is the replacement ballast that I had been using in the Robotron that I took back out, put the original back in. So this is the ballast that we're going to use in this cabinet. And these screws aren't original, but these should be fine to mount it in. And so this is a Robertson CC 1320P ballast, and among other lights that it works for, it supports a F15 or F14 T12. Yeah, it says that right there. It supports, where does it say? Yeah, right there, F14 T12. So this ballast will work. So we're just going to pop it back in here. And also, I just got finished doing the live stream. I joined the Arcades Anonymous live stream as a guest tonight, which was a ton of fun, chatting with all them about their adventures in arcade collecting. I was invited by Dan from Outrun the Neon Sun. He's been working on restoring an original Street Fighter II. So thank you, Dan. Dan's an awesome guy. I'll put a link to that, the video on demand of that live stream, in the video description down below here. And you should definitely subscribe to Dan's channel. He's an awesome guy, really, really, you know, one of the nicest guys that I've met in a long time. So thank you, Dan, for having me. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, really we just have to reconnect 3 wires here. This is power to the marquee light from the harness. So it comes in here to this Molex connector and there's a plug on the back. So this wire here connects to the left side of the, I don't know what this is called, the socket for the fluorescent light. This wire connects to the transformer. This wire comes over here and connects to this black wire from the other socket. So that should be pretty straightforward to do. I just need to strip a couple wires here. And that's not the way it's supposed to be. There we go. There's one. Twist that a little bit. And I'm just going to use, what do you call them, wire nuts for this, because this is just power, right? These are not signal lines where I would really want to be careful to have a super good connection and solder it and all that. This is just power, and if you know, if wire nuts are good enough for, you know, outlets, right, in your house, then they're good enough for the power to this marquee light. And I don't know if there are any licensed electricians out there saying, no, don't use wire nuts in a home power application. Yeah, you're probably right. I don't know if that's to code or whatever, but there's plenty of people that do it. There's just not a ton of slack here on this wire going to the socket, but it'll be enough for what we need. Yeah, I can feel it starting to grab. And my OCD was very pleased to find four of these wire nuts that all look exactly the same. So that's good. All right. And these are just solid, not stranded. So we'll try to get those. Let me get my needle nose pliers just to kind of squeeze them together a little bit. All right. Okay. Here we go. And we'll tie these together. All right. This is actually really, really simple, but to me it's important to, get things as original and authentic as possible. And even though, this is a reproduction ballast, this is sort of how the marquee light was supposed to be illuminated. So that's good. And it's so easy, right? Like, this is not expensive to do this. And I don't know if it was, why the previous operator did this in the first place, right? This is a little bit long. Maybe we'll cut it here. Why they did it in the first place, right? Like, maybe the bulb just went out, right? And or the fluorescent bulb went out, and they couldn't be bothered to get a replacement one, or couldn't find a replacement one. So they did what they, I'm gonna strip a little bit more. No, that's, yeah, I'm gonna strip a little bit more off of this. And they did what they needed to do to get this game, working again. Even now you'll go to arcades and you'll see, marquee lights out, right? Because, light bulbs die and they need to be replaced. And I guess, rather than finding, maybe this is shorter than I wanted it to be. Anyway, we'll be fine. Rather than, maybe they didn't have any fluorescent bulbs on hand, right? So they just used what they had available and made do. So, oops. All right. But, we're not in a commercial setting here, right? We're not doing the sort of, just hacks in the field that we need to do to get things up and running. This is a collector's setting, a restoration setting, so we can, do what's right to sort of, bring it back to as normal as possible, as original as possible. So I think that's good. I'm gonna pop in a new starter. These are easy to find. These are FS2 starters. You can get these on Amazon or any hardware store. So we'll pop this into the socket. All right, that's in there good. And I did previously use my multimeter, and I double checked that these original wires are all good. There's continuity between all of the points. This is the light bulb that I'm going to be using, just a GE F14 T12 cool white 15-inch bulb, which I believe is the original spec. So we'll pop this sucker in like so. All right. And I think we're ready to test this light. So what I've done over here, let me just show you this real quick. So on my working cart, my shop cart here, I've got our Joust transformer assembly with, this is Charles Klein's replacement sort of part that goes to the power supply, but we don't have that hooked up. We don't need to have that hooked up in order to get the Marquee power. I've got the Golden Age Arcade Parts Reproduction Joust Upright AC harness, part of the complete Joust reproduction harness I got from Golden Age. So this is over here, and that's good. And what I had, and the reason I did this, because I had, you know, the old AC harness, but that was all hacked up, cut up. I've got it over here somewhere, actually. Yeah, so like the plugs have been cut for the Marquee light. So we've got them over, that's the monitor power. So here's the female Molex connector for the Marquee light, and it's even labeled Marquee very helpfully. Obviously the monitor power, but we're not going to need that. One thing I did have to do though is, if you see right here, these are the 3 sets of plugs for the power switch and the 2 interlock switches. And I don't want to mess with those, right? So what I actually did was kind of connect them sort of like this. These, I guess, female spade connectors. I pulled the insulators off a little bit and just plugged them together. So that should be okay. And this blue wire, these aren't connected because if you look over here, they're just a loop to kind of put the, I think the interlocks go in series. So we've got that there. And yeah, the AC harness is plugged into the transformer assembly. And I'm going to plug the power cord for the transformer for the cabinet into my cart here, because my cart actually has a little power strip here. And then I'll plug the cart into the wall and we'll turn that on. And hopefully this Marquee light will spring back to life. So let's get lined up for that. Let me plug in the harness. So this again is the Marquee connector, and I'll just come up like this and plug that in right there. So that's connected, that's good. The rest of this can kind of just sit. Obviously we're not using the monitor power, so that can go there. And I just want to be careful with these to position them in a way where they're not going to short to anything. And I think that's good. I'll move my tools out of the way. All right, I am plugging in the cabinet power plug into the cart, so that's good. I'm going to grab the cart power plug, which is right here. Oh, one more thing actually I wanted to do, just to be extra super safe. I've got these alligator clips, and I've got one end. I'll show you right here what I'm doing. I've got one end clipped onto the grounding strap coming off of the transformer assembly, and I'm gonna clip the other end to the grounding strap up here in the Marquee light box, which is also the speaker box. I don't know if this is necessarily, you know, going to do anything here, but just to be on the safe side, I need to wheel it a little bit closer. I'm going to connect this just because I don't know. I just don't feel right about not having something grounded. And I think this is technically grounding this plate here behind the marquee light. So here goes nothing. Well, hopefully here goes something. And I want to do this in a way where I'm not going to bump the tripod because we're kind of at the limits of where this wire can go. I'm going to turn off the power strip over here. And yeah, I've got these two power strips plugged into each other, which is not the best thing to do. Okay, we're all plugged in, and I should be able to throw the switch on the power strip, and hopefully that fluorescent bulb will spring to life. 3, 2, 1. Nothing. 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 Why? Why is there nothing? Why is there nothing? Why is there nothing? Nothing, no buzzing. It's almost like there's no power going anywhere. That's plugged in. That goes up. I bet you it's something to do, like I don't have this plugged in correctly. Let me take a look at this real quick. Okay, I still don't know what's going on. It is powered up right now. The light is still not on, no buzzing, no signs of life at all from the, yeah, it's not, nothing's doing there, nothing's going there. You can see the light is on, the power light is on here, and I've got my multimeter connected to the Molex for the marquee light, and we've got AC voltage going there, so something's not right up in the marquee light setup, and I'm curious curious to discover what. This transformer assembly was working. It doesn't feel warm or anything. Is it the starter? Is it the starter? Is it the starter plug? Is it one of these connections not good? Let me see if there's another spot where I can, oh, this isn't plugged in. All right, let me turn it off. Let me plug the harness back into the back side of the setup here. Okay, that's plugged in. These things are not touching anything. Let's turn it back on. Throw on the switch. Weird. Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay. The bulb just wasn't seated all the way. Awesome, 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 awesome. Hopefully I'm not going to shock myself. Look at that. Beautiful. Look how easy that was, even though I screwed it up in a silly way. Awesome. I'm excited about that. Okay, let me disconnect all of this. I'm going to pull the plastic back up to cover things, and we'll spray on another coat of the black paint. All right, I've got the plastic sheet back in place, and it's actually coming up a little bit, but that's fine. So got the paint all shaken up, and we're ready to come do another coat. All right, that looks pretty good. Maybe I went a little heavy right there, but trying to get good coverage. And if we come over here, we've got the front of the coin doors to do, including, let's change this angle. including the upper coin door, which we didn't do the inside of, plus the coin entry slots that house the coin return button and the coin reject, or the coin reject buttons and the coin return bezels down there. I'm getting towards the end of this can. I haven't used an entire can. This one was sort of halfway full, so probably end up using the other one, or I have a second one that we'll use in a minute. Yeah, because this is getting low, but here we go. Yeah, this is empty. Yep, so that's fine. I'll shake up. I got my other can here, so let's get this shaken up, which takes about a minute, so let me go do that and I'll come right back. Okay, the new can is all shaken up and ready to go, so let's paint these coin doors. All right. And these, you know, we don't necessarily need them to look perfect, but, you know, a coat of paint can make a huge difference with how these parts look. You know, cover up the little, you know, bits of rust and other imperfections. That's kind of a bit of a heavy pass, but yeah, and then these things will end up looking like $1 million bucks, right? For just a couple dollars worth of paint. I'm gonna cover and make sure I get sort of this angle here. Yeah, that's going on a little thick, but now I feel like this is uneven. All right, I'm gonna let that dry for, I don't know, 20-30 minutes, and I'll come back and we'll do I'll do a second light coat off camera, and then I'll come back and we'll see how that's looking. All right, I waited about 20 or 30 minutes before putting on another coat, and I think we're looking really good, especially here on the front kick plate of the cabinet. You can still see the serial numbers right there, sort of carved or stamped into the wood. And just below, we did a ton of repair to a credit switch button that had been drilled through the board. And then down here, there was like a lock bar bolt. And down at the bottom, obviously, we did a ton of Bondo work down there. And I don't think you can tell at all. Obviously, we'll have to wait till the paint fully dries, but I think that looks really, really, really good. And over here, with the coin doors looking pretty good too. I think these two coats here are sufficient. Again, you know, it's not perfect. I didn't sand it down to bare metal and then spray on a hammer finish layer, and then the top coat. We just kind of did a quick cleanup and then painted it black. The only thing I think I went a little bit heavy, if you can tell right here in the corner on the first pass, just because it was so close to the lower coin door, sort of when I was going back and forth, the overspray was kind of collecting over here. So I spread them apart a little bit on the cardboard, covering the floor, protecting the floor of the garage before doing it again, doing the second coat. But I think we're okay, and I kind of propped it up on the the packaging from the bulb, fluorescent bulb for the Marquee light, the starter, just to help it, you know, avoid pooling over there. But I think we're good with this too. You know, all the coin reject button and return slot bezels. So I think that's good. There's a little bit of, you know, sort of unevenness here, but I think that's actually in the metal. You know, I think originally that had been some sort of duct tape or something holding that closed. But yeah, I think we're looking pretty good. So I'm gonna let this dry overnight, and we'll take a look tomorrow. We'll peel all the painter's tape and the plastic sheet off and see how things are looking then. So stay tuned. All right, while that coat of paint is drying, I want to address the speaker assembly. So this has been removed, obviously, from the cabinet, and it's got very, very typical damage that you'll see in a lot of these Williams cabinets. This speaker grille, which sort of goes the whole length of this panel, is made out of really kind of brittle, flimsy plastic, and people would get frustrated and punch this and break it like you've seen here. And actually this one, the person who did this broke through and actually destroyed the speaker as well. So you can get obviously replacement speakers, that's no problem. But these speaker grills need to be reproduced. And fortunately, there is a CLOV member by the name of Winslow who makes reproduction speaker grills for Williams games. And these are made out of steel, made out of metal, so they're a lot more durable than the original, and they are basically an exact match for the original. And he makes them for the different sizes, right? Like Robotron and Joust are the same width. Meanwhile, I think certainly Moon Patrol and I think Bubbles and I don't know, Sinistar are narrower. Those are narrower cabinets, and Defender is a different size or different shape entirely. So yeah, let's take off this stuff to be able to replace the speaker grill and the speaker itself. So I'm just going to come in here and remove this, which is the lower channel that holds the Marquee in place. We were just fixing up the Marquee light, and this is sort of the bottom panel of that box, if you will. So that comes right off. We'll clean that in a second. Let's go ahead and remove the old speaker. So there's 4 screws, one of which connects to a grounding strap, just sort of embedded in there. Man, we are getting close to wrapping up this project. I am very excited to get it completely done, get it into the basement, thinking about different ways that I can set it up. So here's our old speaker. It was originally a 4 ohm, 3 watt speaker. I think this is a 6-inch round speaker. Toss that in the trash. We've got our replacement here, which is obviously a more modern one, and this is 4 ohm, 30 watt, which should be fine. More powerful. I don't really know anything about speakers, but that should be a good fit. And we'll reuse this tray, which does still fit. I do want to remove, while we're at it, the grill itself, which just has a bunch of these staples holding it in. So let me grab some needle-nose pliers and see about removing these. I don't know if I should. Yeah, the old speaker grill just like wants to disintegrate. It's so brittle. It's like it's like a potato chip, right? So we'll pull all that off just to make it a little bit easier to get these staples out. And I've got a little mini staple gun to replace them. All right, and I'll just use my needle nose pliers, and here we go. Pulled that staple out. So yeah, let me go and remove all the rest of these staples real quick. Okay, get all the old staples out and all of the remnants of that original speaker grill thrown away. So I'm ready to reattach the new one, the reproduction from Winslow. And I also took an opportunity to wipe down with a paper towel and some Simple Green the board, the panel, just to avoid any nastiness. I'm going to use these T50 Aero staples, which I think are pretty close to what was originally used. These are 6mm or 1/4 of an inch. And I've got a little Stanley Electric staple gun. So we'll see how this goes. I've not done this before. We've got this lovely Repro speaker grill. Should slide on like that. Perfect fit. Okay. Yeah, that's nice. And Yeah, hopefully I can get these staples through. I don't think you can quite see what I'm doing here. There we go. I'm going to try throwing one on either side of the top just to kind of hold it in place. We'll see if this works. Nope. Let me try that one more time. I mean, it's here. You can see it's kind of going in, but kind of not, because this metal is obviously a lot stronger than the original plastic. Yeah. Let me try one more. I don't want to damage anything. All right, that one went in. Again, these aren't really going in the way I want. Let me actually go find some maybe finish nails or something to kind of get a better application. Okay, what I ended up using were these little brass colored nails from, like, picture hangers, right? These little hooks that you nail to the wall so you can hang pictures. I just used a bunch of these little nails because they were the right size. Not exactly original. This isn't the way it was originally done, but they worked perfectly, and you're never ever going to see these, so they get covered up. So that's good there. Let me just wipe down the table a little bit, and we'll get this. Let's see. I think we'll put the channel back on for the Marquee. All right, how's that look? Pretty good. Now we can put the speaker back on. All right, I think we've got a reassembled oh my goodness, look what I just did. I broke this cable tie, popped right off. No matter, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Maybe I'll get a little piece of, you know what I can do? I can do a zip tie to fix that. Okay, not to fear, I can fix this with with just a zip tie. So I've got this sort of large, heavy-duty black zip tie. I'll remove the old cable tie entirely. All right, and I'm going to drill a little hole into the zip tie. I want to be kind of careful, and maybe I shouldn't be holding this in my hands, but just want to get a little pilot hole in this. Maybe I should use like an awl to punch this hole instead of a screw or a drill bit. Just line this up. There we go. All right. So now we've got basically a little pilot hole, and we can cut this sucker. Right about there. And now, start it just a tad. Come on. I don't want anything slowing me down right now. Yeah, and obviously this isn't how it was done originally, but this is a nice little fix just to sort of functionally replace what I just broke. 40-year-old plastic gets brittle. So I think I'm going to call that good for now. So we've got our speaker box. We got a new speaker. We've got a new speaker grill that's not punched out. So I think this is good and ready to go. And once we're ready for final assembly, we'll put that into the cabinet. Now I've got the control panel back out again because if you remember from a previous video, I needed to replace the bulb sockets that for the light bulbs that illuminate the 1 and 2 player start buttons. These are translucent red buttons and they get illuminated from inside the control panel box to make them sort of light up. What's interesting though is I've got, you know, sort of a tricky layout here with the optical joysticks. They take up so much more room. And my real estate to install these sockets is quite limited. So I actually went ahead and reinstalled this sort of bracing metal bar right here, and the pieces of the grounding strap that sort of, you know, come in like so, just so that, you know, I know the sort of limited space that I have to deal with. Here are the sockets. These are a good match for what was originally there, or at least this is what was in my Robotron. And I think I got these from Pinball Life. So yeah, and what I need to do is solder the wires from the harness that have that bring power to these sockets. And I previously covered them up with these wires with electrical tape, just so I wouldn't risk sort of screwing anything up. And I think I'm going to bring this wire up here, so that I can put one of the bulb sockets here to illuminate the player, or the 2-player start. So it'll go like that. And then this one will come down here to illuminate the 1-player start button. So let me just sort of take a look at how I'm gonna get these in here. All right, that looks okay. So both of them are sort of hooked on. So now I can hold this in place with the helping hands. So come in with my soldering iron and just solder this together. All right, that side was a little bit harder because the helping hands weren't actually grabbing that wire, but that should be able to go right here, no problem. So let me go and solder the other socket on, and we'll be ready to mount them. Okay, now that that soldering is done on both of the sockets, I'm ready to mount them to the control panel, and I've installed a bulb just so I know exactly where I want to position it and it won't interfere with the button or make contact with anything else. And yeah, I'm using these LED bayonets. Again, I think I got these at Pinball Life. I'll include links in the description to all of the parts and tools and everything I use. I do that in all of my videos, right? So if you're ever wondering, hey, what tool was that? Hey, what part was that? Where did Charlie get that from? That's always in the video description down below with links to them whenever possible. So yeah, I use the LEDs. It's not exactly the same as what it was originally, which was just like an incandescent bulb like you would find in the coin door. But I find those are typically quite dim, and I like having these really bright LEDs that really make these the translucent buttons sort of pop. So what I'm going to do is position it exactly where I want it so that it's not touching anything and it's not interfering with the button's ability to travel, and we'll be able to throw some good light exactly where we want it. And I've got this awl, this really old awl that I think I inherited from like my father-in-law. And we'll put it exactly where we want it. We're not touching anything else. I'm not going to let you slip around. And I'm going to mark it with the awl right in that hole. And we'll drive that in a little bit. And so that tells me exactly where I need to get that screw going. So I'll mark that one there. And I can actually just use this one for now, even though I'm not going to, well, actually, just in case it makes a difference, let me put a bulb in the other socket, which is right here. And that faces down like that. And these just sort of twist in like a bayonet on a rifle. Though I guess most people probably aren't familiar with that. And this one I think can mount right here somewhere. And that'll be a good spot to throw the light. Okay. Try to mark this without moving it. Where were we? Right about there, right? Back off a tiny bit. Okay, we'll mark this one. Okay, and so with those two spots marked, I know exactly where I want to put, I'll really start it a little bit. I know where I want to put the screw, and is that going to be too thick, I wonder, or too long, I wonder? So I've got these screws. No, I think it should be, well, this one's going, you know, to the metal plate, so that's not going to be a problem. I had to really search far and wide to find a match for these hex screws. So this is what one of the original ones look like, and this is an exact match. It looks a little thicker right here, except it's got a slot. It's slotted head. So good enough match. And yeah, I had to search far and wide to find a good match for this. But before I do that, I'm going to drill a quick pilot hole here with my drill. So let me go do that, and then I'll wrap up this part of it. Okay, so I drilled a couple of quick 1/8 inch pilot holes using my drill. And now take one of these screws, and we should be able to mount these sockets onto the control panel. Yeah, I think that's good. So, unless I do, I'll probably figure out some cable ties here just to, and there's some screw holes I think where the cable ties were originally going, just so that this stuff isn't all flopping around and potentially interfering with you know, the movement of the buttons and joysticks and whatever, and we're a little bit snug. But yeah, so I'll figure out some sort of cable tie, cable management thing. But other than that, I think our control panel is completely done now and ready to be mounted in the cabinet. Okay, I've got everything sorted out with the control panel. Got some zip ties that I've sort of repurposed as wire ties. Everything's nice and neat here. Nothing's interfering with anything. So I would say the control panel is done, done, done. The next thing I want to do is sort of address a bunch of this hardware. These are carriage bolts. These are the ones that go onto the hinge that hold the control panel to the cabinet. And these are used in a couple other places too. And, you know, they're fine, but I want to spruce them up a little bit. Some of them have, you know, a bit more rust than others. And in theory, I could throw these in my tumbler. I do have a tumbler that will it uses ground up walnut shells, and it just sort of like a tumbler for polishing rocks. It rolls and rolls and rolls, and it, you know, takes a couple of days and it polishes everything nice. But I'm a little bit impatient because we're right at the end of this project. So what I'm going to do is take my drill again, load one of these carriage bolts into the drill, lock that in place. And again, I got a piece of this 220 grit sandpaper or scrap. And I'm going to use my drill and just, see, you can, it's doing great, right? polish that up a little bit. And then I will hit it with some sandpaper, or not sandpaper, I'm sanding it right now. I'll hit it with some black spray paint, and that's actually pretty good. And we'll redo the finish. Let's see if I can find a particularly bad one here. Oh, these are the ones that were, these also hold the lower back door hinge, and you can see some of the red paint. So I'll load this one up. I'll just do 2 of these with you. So that's nice and secure. Run it in the sandpaper again. And you can see how nice and shiny that gets. So I'm going to go through and do all of these, and then I'll show you how I paint them. All right, I've got my black bolts or black carriage bolts all sanded, looking nice and shiny, ready to be painted. I'm going to use the same Rust-Oleum Universal Satin Paint and Primer in 1 in satin black. I also grabbed the hinge that connects the control panel to the cabinet. It's kind of like a piano hinge. Sanded that down really quick. We're going to spray both sides of that. And that's the top marquee bracket right there too. I don't know if you can quite see it here. That only we're going to do the top of. So I'm going to spray 2 light coats tonight, let this dry, and then I'll do the other side of the hinge, and we should be good to go. So let me just come in here. There we go. And don't tell me that we're getting towards the end of this can. There we go. Felt some going on my leg. It's not what I want, but okay. Come around and sort of get the other angle here. All right, I'm going to let that dry for a moment, and then I'll come back and do a second light coat. Okay, everything I've painted is now fully dry, and I think we're ready to start the final reassembly process. Hard to believe, I know. So the carriage bolts that I painted black came out really nice. Look at that. And yeah, all the coin door parts are looking good, ready to be put back together, as well as a few other brackets. So this is the hinge for the control panel. It's kind of like a piano hinge. This is the top marquee bracket, and this is the lower marquee bracket that holds the bottom of the marquee. That connects to the speaker box or the speaker panel. And over here, I grabbed the marquee itself, which you've seen in the background in the basement. It had a bunch of tape and sort of residue on it. So I've got some Goo Gone spray kind of soaking onto that. That'll sit for a couple minutes, and it'll hopefully take everything off. And none of the artwork, which is sort of applied from the inside. So that the top is just sort of a clear plexi surface. So that should be good. And of course the front, which we just did. How does that look? Let's come in here just closely. I think that looks real nice. Again, you can still see the serial number that gets stamped in. If I catch it in the light, it's let's see if it'll focus. 613497. And obviously right here we did a bunch of repair that you can barely tell. Down here, of course, we did a bunch of repairs. So yeah, that's I'm very happy. I love that paint. Is really good. So another thing I mentioned before, I think I am going to leave the original team molding, which is in relatively good shape. I'm going to try to clean some of this paint off. And is that like a residue? I don't know. We'll clean some of this extra paint off. And there's a couple of these burrs that I'll grab, some like edge clippers or side cutters, and sort of trim back. And there's a few spots like right here where it isn't quite seated, so I'll actually pull the T-molding off and maybe cut a notch in the barb. And there's another one right here where it doesn't quite, where is it? Oh, right up here where it doesn't quite sit right. So yeah, I'll notch the barb and reapply it. But yeah, that's looking real nice. But boy, is it still dirty in here. So I'm going to give the inside of this cabinet a really thorough cleaning. No need for you to watch me do that. There's nothing super special going on in here. It's just totally empty right now, but needs a good cleaning. And I'll just use simple green and probably a microfiber cloth or two to do all of that. Look at all that dust down there. But yeah, so I think now I'm gonna try to remove, I'll put some gloves on just because this stuff isn't dangerous, but it's a little bit sticky and nasty, this Goo Gone stuff. And I'll get all this tape off, I'll clean it off, and then I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, quick update. I was able to get most of the tape and residue off. Man, that old masking tape was really a bear. The Goo Gone that I was using really didn't put a dent in it. So what I ended up doing was letting a bunch of isopropyl alcohol soak into the tape, and then I took a plastic scraping tool and just with a lot of elbow grease eventually got it taken off. You know, I thought about using Goof Off, but you know, that stuff is much more powerful, and it says right on the bottle, do not use on acrylic plastic, which is what plexiglass is. So yeah, so that was able to take off the old dried up masking tape, and then I did use the Goo Gone to get the tape residue off. So that was good, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I would say it's about 98% gone, which is great. One of these interlock switch panels was really bent up, so I just took a hammer and a scrap piece of plywood and kind of reworked it back into shape, which is good. Now, interlocks. I had a little, got a little worried there for a minute. So Joust actually has three interlock switch of two different kinds, right? So there's this sort of traditional 3-position interlock switch, which you can pull out, push in, or sort of stays in the middle. And this is a Cherry, what is it? What does that say? E79, if it'll focus. That's a Cherry E79 switch. And this is sort of like the at least as far as I'm concerned, sort of the classic interlock switch, that 3-position switch. And that's what's used in the upper coin door, or I'm sorry, the upper back door is this interlock switch. But then there's these two other interlock switches, and these are Cherry E68s, right? And these just go in, right? They don't sort of pop out. And these are used in two places on the sort of Joust and Robotron style games. They're used on the coin door. So when you open the coin door, it's sort of tucked in the corner there. And this is the sort of panel for that was all busted up. And it's also used in the vault, right? So let me show you over here on the cabinet. Actually did I remount this? Yeah, this was actually the one that was all bent up. This is where one of those E68 Cherry switches go. So this is sort of like an interlock switch for the coin door. And the other one, and I had removed that other bracket because I was cleaning it, goes right here, okay? And it mounts on the top of the box where the coin vault is. So you got these two chutes where the coins drop down, from the coin mechs through these chutes, which are just like PVC pipe, down into the coin vault down here. The holes, the openings from the chutes are right here. And then that switch hole is right there where my finger goes. And I think that's to check the bookkeeping totals. So, an op might have given, or the owner of an arcade machine might have given somebody local, kind of running the day-to-day comings and goings of the arcade, a key to, open up the coin vault here and pull the money each night, and then they could press this button when that door was open to check the bookkeeping totals. Whoa. And I was missing, if the camera's really acting funky, or the gimbal is, so I was missing one of these switches, right? So this was still in the game, or I think maybe this one was still in the game. This was the one, sort of the button for the coin vault. I had an extra one of these, but I didn't have an extra E68. So in the meantime, I stole this off of the Robotron back in the pile over there, the restoration queue. So I took a donor switch from that. But yeah, for the most part, I think we're looking good over here. And then back on the cabinet, I cleaned the heck out of it inside and out. A lot of simple green and paper towels, you know, and I would say it's looking pretty good, you know, at least up to my standards. So I'm going to let this dry overnight because I used quite a bit down on the bottom, and that's old overspray. It's not dirt or anything, but yeah, it's fine. And I'll come back tomorrow and vacuum it one more time just to you know, get any bits of paper towel out of it. The other thing I did was clean or sort of reinstall, you know, to get all these on the T-molding, get all these corners nice and tight. I pulled and reinstalled the T-molding on both sides, so you see all these corners here are good. You know, I cut the barb where I needed to make those sharp turns. And then I cleaned the T-molding as best I can. And you can see there's, in some spots, there's some tiny remnants of the red paint that was under the black paint, all of which I had removed. And I think we're in pretty good shape. There are a couple spots where I had to use my side cutters to, you know, cut sort of burrs, I would call them, in the T-molding. There's like one right here that's sort of tricky. But yeah, you know, that was probably more work than I was expecting or hoping for. So maybe in the future, rather than trying to save this T-molding, like you can get this sort of leather pattern black T-molding, no problem. I think in the future I would save myself some time and just buy new T-molding. But, you know, sort of for the look we're going here, which is original as possible, I figured it was worth maybe the effort to keep the original T-molding. So yeah, I think we're good to go. It's late tonight. It's tomorrow's Mother's Day, so I got to get up early and do some stuff for that. But I'll get back to this. You know, this video isn't going to be released until the Sunday after Mother's Day, so I've got some time to wrap things up. But I'm thinking once this is dry from being cleaned overnight, I'll be ready to really start putting it all back together. So stay tuned for that final reassembly. All right, it's time. It's finally time. It's time to put this Joust cabinet all back together. So a couple of things that I did off camera. I just cleaned up the main power switch and the interlock switches that I'm going to use. Pulled them all out, cleaned them up. Got the contacts all clean too for being resoldered or, you know, quick connectors on. I grabbed some new screws for the transformer assembly that'll go into the bottom of the cabinet. These are the originals and they're all rusted to heck, so I'm not going to use that. And these are pretty close approximations. And oh, I cleaned the coin bucket, and this is the original. It even has the Street Smart label from an operator on it. If you recall, remember at the beginning, this game had been converted to a SNK Street Smart, so this has been a deconversion project. And over in the cabinet, I vacuumed it out one more time. I also noticed some of the blocking or cleat or whatever for the back door was separating a little bit, so I just used some wood glue and clamps to fix that. And so now that's good as new. You can barely tell that it was ever cracked in the first place. So put these down, and we'll get into the tripod here. And I'm going to start by installing that reinstalling that transformer assembly in the base of the cabinet. So I think our transformer assembly is installed. It's nice and secure, and we're good to go to continue. So the next thing I want to do is install the AC harness from the reproduction wiring harness. So we'll come over here, and there it is right there sitting up on the monitor panel. And let's see what we got here. This is the Molex connector that plugs into the transformer assembly. Just unravel all this. Okay. And we need to connect. We'll leave the monitor obviously disconnected for now. And we've got all these quick connects here, which is nice for, this is the on-off switch, and this goes to the interlock. So the first interlock for or I guess the real interlock for the back door. So these sort of hang out up here. Okay, we're all squared away here. I got that power switch remounted into the back of the cabinet with the AC harness plugged in. Same deal with the interlock switch back there, and the wires are fed through the way they're supposed to be. So yeah, now I want to reattach up here at the top the speaker box that we rebuilt with a nice brand new reproduction speaker grill. Whoops, sorry about that. New speaker grill, new speaker, looking nice. Got the original speaker wiring here. We can put our marquee onto the cabinet, which I've never done this with this joust. Let's see how this looks. Nice and clean. Look at that. How does that look on camera? Oh, so wonderful. And I've got a freshly painted top marquee bracket for that. And I'm going to use some brand new screws just because these are going to be on the outside of the cabinet. And it's not like anybody's ever going to see the top, but if they do, I want them to see shiny new screws. All right. How's that looking? And believe it or not, that is enough for an initial test. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the main lights inside the garage for effect. All right. I'm going to plug in the main power into an outlet. And we have, turn off this light. And let's see, what do I need to do? I'll throw the main switch on and I'll pull the interlock. Look at that. Isn't that nice? An illuminated marquee. It's not perfect, but I would say it's about 98%. There's a little bit of black missing here. If I really wanted to, I could touch that up, a tiny bit of red here. I got this, I was checking back in November from Michael Maeder on the Texas Warehouse group on Facebook. So thank you, Michael, for selling that to me at a really great price. Well, there we go. We got some signs that something's working. So I'll turn that off. Okay, let me think about what's next. Okay, I went ahead and got the plastic monitor bezel sort of into the cabinet. If you remember way back months ago when I was removing this thing, it was really kind of a pain in the butt, and I kind of like twisted it and bent it to pull it straight out. Turns out it'll sort of come relatively easily in and out kind of down this way, so that's good. I didn't secure it just yet because there's actually a couple of different mounting holes, and I'll get it all lined up nice and straight once I've got the monitor in there ready to go. So the next two things I want to do are the control panel and the coin doors. A couple things I had to do on the control panel. One was I was missing this sort of strip. I guess this is like a, oh, it's the sort of coin, or I'm delirious. It's the control panel sort of bracket thing. It's kind of this really hard plastic piece that goes between the control panel and the bezel, presumably to prevent things from, I guess, spilling back there. Maybe to prevent, protect the bezel a little bit, but it is a hard plastic. and it did originally have, you know, a bunch of these staples, so I installed new staples to secure it in place with my staple gun, which is still quite underpowered. I think I might have to invest in a pneumatic one or an air-powered one, but that's on okay. And I also, it doesn't look fantastic, but if you remember, our new control panel overlay was ever so slightly too short, so I went back with a Sharpie and just covered up the bare wood that was exposed there. And now coming back over here, I just want to put this coin door back together, and don't worry, I will definitely speed this up so as not to torture you with all the wonderful details of what I'm doing with this, but if you want to, you can slow it down and watch it. So yeah, here we go. Look at that beautiful reassembled coin door. All right, it's a little bit tricky to close just because I kind of reformed this part of the door that had been sort of bent in a little bit. Now I'm ruining the paint job by bending it back. Let's see if that's good. Oh man. All right, now that closes nice and easy. So that's ready to go. Let's come back and start putting some more things on the cabinet. Okay, it's the next day. I sort of ran out of steam around 1:30 a.m. last night. Yeah, let me start putting these coin doors and control panel on the cabinet. And I don't know if I mentioned this before. I did try to blend the touch-up paint a little bit, but with a magic eraser and a little bit of water. I just don't think there's enough material to really make it work, but it's not so bad. So yeah, let me get these coin doors and control panel on the cabinet. Before I do that, just in case this is satisfying for you, I'm going to remove the masking from the lower coin door to expose the original sticker. Look at that. How does that look? Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. Let's get this on the cabinet. Okay, This is it. I think we're finally ready to fire this bad boy up. To turn off the house lights. I've got it plugged in. Everything's ready to go. I just need to throw the switch. And yeah, I'm sorry that my gimbal lost or caused me to lose the footage of installing the PCBs. And I know I didn't show you all of the installing the harness, but I'm sorry about that. So yeah, keep your fingers crossed. I'm behind the cabinet about to turn it on. 3, 2, 1. I hear the HV on the monitor. The marquee light is on. Coin door lights are on. The illuminated button lights are on. Come on, monitor. Okay, yeah. Yes! Oh my goodness. What a relief. Let's take a closer look here. Look how beautiful this is. From the top, the marquee. Down here, I've got the bezel installed. And look at that beautiful monitor, the 4900 that we rebuilt. Look how nice and bright those 1 and 2 player start buttons are. The coin door lights are on. You know, we can do a whole bunch of testing here to, and there's a little, is that an extra dot on the screen there? I think that's maybe a RAM thing. But yeah, we can do some tests. I don't know, would you rather see me jump into the test menu? Or would you rather see me play a game here real quick? Why don't we play a game? I'm assuming you'd rather see that. We come in, I guess, kind of close here to the monitor. And I'll turn the light on real quick to grab a quarter. So I grabbed a quarter. You're not going to be able to see it. From 1967. So this is a quarter that could have been in Joust when, yeah, and there's that little red dot on the screen there. This quarter could have been used in this game back in the day. All right, I heard some sounds. Ready for dual play. No credits. Oh, do I have it set on free play? Maybe I have it set on free play. Welcome to Joust. Going left works. Going right works. Clapping works. There we go. I've got a working, complete, restored Joust. Look at that. Unbelievable. Let's just put a... Oh, there we go. I died. Yeah, maybe I've got it set on free play. Whoa! Yeah, red dot remains right there. I think that is supposed to be a RAM thing. No survival points awarded. Did I leave it on free play for testing? Whoops. Yeah, I kind of want to die here and just make sure the high score is working. I don't know if you can hear the sounds. It's good volume. Oops. All right, last life. Wave 4. Okay, thy game is over. Let's go. And are my old, yeah, my old scores are still there. So yeah, the battery is working. Cool. Let's see what happens when it comes back to the screen. Yeah, that dot is now blue. I don't know what to make of that. And you see that the light illuminates from down below. Yeah, I must have it set on free play. Let's just double check the controls here. Yep. player 2 controls work. So yeah, should we do like a test? Do we have to reset it to do that? All right, just killed the machine. Oh, I think if I start the game with the coin door open, all right, it'll reset the bookkeeping. Come on, get out of here, bug. Get off of my bezel. There's our rug pattern. Yeah, and you see how it throws a little bit of light from behind the speaker panel to illuminate the control panel just ooh, RAM error 33. Maybe that's what that dot is. Huh, we're gonna have to look at that. And you know, that happened one time at the beginning, but we were able to get past it. Okay. So I think that's fine for now. If we open the coin door here. All right. All ROM's okay. Here's our RAM test. And we'll see RAM error 33 maybe. I don't know. I also heard that it could not even be a bad RAM. It could be that I've got RAMs. Here it is, RAM error 33 again. Interesting. You know, we never actually fixed that. It just sort of went away. And I've heard that, you know, these sort of RAM errors can happen from no CMOS RAM. Those RAM errors can happen from having different chips, RAM chips with different timing, right? Sound line 1, switch test. Let's see if this button works. Then okay, that's good. Yeah, so we've got that RAM error 33. And let's get this off of free play. Units required for credit. I think that's what we want. Pricing selection 0. Okay, let's grab our quarter. Put this back. So if I press the button now, it shouldn't start. Put a quarter in. Oh, it's because it. Oh, this coin. The right coin mech doesn't like this quarter at all. Try a different one. Might have to make some adjustments. Nope, doesn't like it at all. Let's try the left coin mech. There we go. Okay, yeah, okay. Now we're back to quarter play. So, yeah, we're gonna have to figure out at some point what's going on with that RAM error. Like I said, whoops. I see that red dot went away and then came back. We're gonna have to figure out what's going on with that, fix that at some point. Maybe I just bite the bullet and replace all the RAM chips. They're socketed, so that's not a huge task. I mean, it's not cheap. But, yeah, guys, I've got a working Joust. Look at this beautiful thing. And you know, maybe that RAM error will go away again. I don't know. Can you hear it? Can you hear the sounds playing? Maybe if I get a little bit closer to the speaker. Is that all right? Oh. Obviously, I'm relieved that it works, or at least mostly works. Yeah, I am excited. So I think for the rest of this video, I'm just going to bring this downstairs, add it to the lineup, and we'll play a little bit. And I have so many people I need to thank for all their help getting this this restoration project finished. So yeah, I'm not going to do that tonight because it's late and it's been raining today. I don't want to risk damaging this, but I think tomorrow we'll get set up to bring this cabinet downstairs, add it to the lineup, and we'll wrap up the video there. Look how great that looks down here in the lineup in the basement. I'm still in awe. I couldn't be happier with how this turned out. I'm still kind of, you know, in awe of it. So to wrap up this video, I just wanted to come downstairs and record a little bit more gameplay footage. I also wanted to thank, you know, a ton of people who helped me throughout this project, and there was no way I would be able to do both of those things at the same time. Pay attention to what I was doing and play Joust competently while also remembering all of the people that I needed to thank. So I decided to do it as a voiceover. So please bear with me. So all the people I need to thank, first and foremost, the original sellers on Facebook Marketplace. So these folks had this game, which, if you remember, had been converted back in the day to SNK Street Smart, right? The side art was covered up, everything was replaced, there was an entirely new game inside. And as far as I know, they had only ever known it as SNK Street Smart, and it had been in their house for, I don't know, 15, 20 years, and they were, you know, their kids had moved out, and they were, consolidating and whatever, and we're looking to get rid of it. And I'd wager they had no idea it was ever a Joust in the first place. So thank you to those folks for giving me a great deal on this project, and a great way to get started. I also want to thank Lonnie Joustmaster McDonald for helping me to unwrap the history of this particular machine and realize that it was actually an uncommon variant that originally came with these optical joysticks you see me using right here. Also, user CMJB13 on the Claw forums, who was the first person I learned from about the technique of using isopropyl alcohol, paper towels, and saran wrap to easily remove black paint from original stenciled side art. A very special thank you goes to Williams guru Brad Raydell for selling me a pair of restored optical joysticks out of his personal collection, as well as several reproduction Williams parts that he expertly manufactures himself. Brad, thank you very much. I want to thank Rich and Kendra from This Old Game for making the reproduction control panel overlay I used on this cabinet. Steven from Arcadeshop for selling the buttons, leaf switches, control panel molding trim, and a few other parts I used. Wade Lanham from the Claw forums for selling me an original bezel, and Michael Maeder from the Texas Warehouse group on Facebook for selling me an original Marquee. Seller Mackie6661 on eBay, if you're watching this, for selling me a Williams transformer assembly. Charles Klein on the Claw forums for making the awesome reproduction transformer wiring with the dual wire mod kit. A very special thank you to Peter from arcadepartsandrepair.com for the 4900 cap kit and all the other replacement electronic components I used in this project. Peter, thank you. Rick Schieve, the original keeper of the VAPS website, for selling me a Joust board set on eBay. Ken Falta from Golden Age Arcade Parts for building the reproduction cabinet wiring harness. Game Galaxy Arcade in Tennessee for selling me the power supply and PCB mounting plates I used. Bob Perkins from Lakeside-Arcade.com for making the reproduction Williams 3-button service switch panel that goes inside the coin door. Winslow from the Claw forums for making the truly awesome reproduction speaker grill. I'm also thankful for the assorted parts I got from ArcadeAdventures.com, Marco Specialties, Pinball Life, and other great retailers. I also want to thank everyone on the Claw forums and Facebook for their endless advice, support, and encouragement, especially Clav user Arcade David. Plus, Dave Langley from the Robotron-2084.co.uk website, and Mecha from arcaderepair.net, and Clav for the priceless treasure troves of Williams Arcade hardware knowledge they've assembled and shared. Also, Troy from Troy's Restorations on YouTube, and Liam from Retrobotics on YouTube for sharing everything they've learned about repainting arcade cabinets and a ton more. And most of all, I want to thank you for watching. Please be sure to do all those things you always do that makes the YouTube algorithm happy, like hitting the like button, leaving a comment, sharing this video with your friends, and making sure you're subscribed. So guys, I think that's going to do it. I don't know how well I'm necessarily doing here, and again, don't take anything I do on gameplay footage as a tutorial on how to play. So yeah, I think that'll do it here, and what a wild project this has been. Thank you to everyone that's watched the entire series end to end. I know there's quite a few of you out there, so thank you from the bottom of my heart for that. So that'll do it for this project, this episode, and the entire project. We'll be moving on to a new one soon, and I hope you'll enjoy that one as much as you did this one. So anyway, as always, I'm Charlie. You've been watching Overtime Arcade, and I'll see you next time.
Overtime!